One Zambia, One Nation. Thank you so much for joining us for the news. To present it, I'm Michelle Olubinda. The headlines. Value addition to Africa's natural resources critical. Chibuluma mine constructs 42 houses for victims. Government launches oxygen plant. Plus, Information Minister graces media convention. The news in detail. President Hakainde Hichilema has called for value addition to Africa's natural resources. President Hichilema says adding value to the resources that the continent is endowed with will help in creating jobs for the unemployed on the continent. The president has insisted that value addition to Africa's minerals is crucial to mineral benefication. The head of state said this when he delivered a keynote speech at the African debate organized by Invest Africa.
President Hakainde Hichilema was a special guest today at the Africa debate in London. President Hichilema delivered a keynote address on catalyzing the continent's trade potential. During his speech, the president urged African countries to unlock rigidities that hinder intra-trade.
Also have harmonization of trade regulations. It's too much bureaucracy within ourselves. And if there's bureaucracy within ourselves, how does it work when we cross the continents? To trade with Asia, with America, with Europe. Makes it more complicated. It also gives room for negative things that we really don't want, other than just normal slowness because of the platforms, because of non-harmonization of trade regulations, laws, of course, policies, laws, regulations.
The president also called for investment in skills education for young people.
This young population on the continent needs skills to support growth of trade, investment. Education, skills is crucial. And as we talk of critical minerals, please, people in this house, not everybody should rush in that area alone. We must continue investing in skills development, as you've done in your own countries. And the returns are heavy. Best investment, education, skills.
Earlier, Invest Africa Chief Executive Officer Karen Taylor saluted the Zambian government for creating a conducive enabling business environment.
Zambia is increasingly a success story in African trade. And with rising positive investor sentiment and significant opportunities for business investment, the economic growth story is yet to come.
The United Kingdom has pledged to work closely with the African continent.
Africans do not want charity or handouts. They want agency, partnerships that enable them to thrive on their own terms. And partnership is at the heart of the UK offer. This means going beyond our aid budget and using the full breadth of British expertise across our diplomatic network.
The African Debate is a leading investment summit focused on providing African trade. Reporting for Zanis, in London, United Kingdom, I'm Lakson Makodza.
And President Hakainde Hichilema has assured potential investors of government's commitment to creating a stable economic environment suitable for investment. President Hichilema says government has been implementing reforms with a view of creating a conducive business environment for the private sector to thrive. Lakson Makodza reports from London that the president said this during the Zambia Invest Forum that was organized by Invest Africa.
For President Hakainde Hichilema, there's no resting when it comes to engaging world leaders, cooperating partners and prospective investors. Upon arrival from France, where he had a successful meeting with President Emmanuel Macron concerning Zambia's debt relief, President Hichilema proceeded to engage prospective investors at the Zambia Investor Forum, organized by Invest Africa in London.
This time round, I want to confirm that this government is committed to the reforms. After all, we are elected on the ticket of change to improve the livelihoods of our people. It can only be through the economy.
President Hichilema said government is clear on what needs to be done in order to grow the country's economy.
The government before us tried to go to the IMF 2-3 times. They couldn't get a program. We were able to get a program within 6 months of being in office because of a clear intent of what we know needs to be done to our economy in order to grow the economy.
And speaking earlier at the same event, Minister of Finance, Stumbeko Msokotwani, implored the business community to use their influence to push for Zambia's debt relief.
Can I urge you, you are all very influential people here, please push for this debt relief to take place.
Minister of Mines and Minerals Development, Paul Kabuswe, urged would-be investors to take advantage of Zambia's stability and peace by investing in the country's mining sector.
Most of the minerals that we talk about are in the ground, and most of them are not yet explored, meaning we need to do a lot of exploration, and Zambia offers that opportunity.
Investors also learned that government has set aside 800,000 hectares of land meant for agricultural investment.
My country has apportioned in excess of 800,000 hectares of land in specific parts of the country.
Meanwhile, Minister of Energy, Peter Kapala, disclosed that government is looking for investors to invest in the construction of hydropower stations in the northern part of the country.
Encourage investment in power generation in the northern part of the country where there is adequate rainfall.
And the organizers of the Zambia Investor Forum pledged to prioritize the marketing of Zambia as a preferred investment destination.
Since President Hichilema took office in August 21, Zambia has undergone a significant shift, change and focus in its economic policies and its approach.
When you go into partnerships, joint ventures with Zambians, there are more incentives which include 10 years tax holidays.
Reporting for Zanis, in London, United Kingdom, I'm Lakson Makodza.
As the country hosts the 22nd Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit, the Association of Zambian Women in Mining is calling on governments of the respective countries in the region to consider establishing a bank that is targeted at supporting women in business to have access to easy funding. More in this report. Despite the mining sector being regarded as the major contributor to the country's foreign direct investment and economic development, women representation in this part of the sector is low due to various reasons, among them lack of access to finance. The Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, through its Women in Business support, has extended its support to the Association of Zambian Women in Mining to enhance their activities.
We don't talk much of challenges. Yes, the challenges are there as women. Being a business person or business women is not easy. Perhaps you are looking for a starter. Perhaps you are looking for finances from the lending institutions, which you cannot get because of the high interest. Then no, you cannot get, because you end up losing your house or your farm or whatever. So it becomes very, very difficult. Unless through COMESA, perhaps you can have a women bank that can help women to access finances, because doing it on our own is becoming a challenge. I think it's important that COMESA can think of that, to have women bank from all sectors of who are doing business, so that women can be able to access finances to do their businesses.
As the country hosts the 22nd COMESA Summit Heads of State and Government, the association is positioning itself to use the platform to market the potential that Zambia has in mineral value addition and tourism.
So value addition is very important. Why it's important? I think that's what you want me to emphasize. It's very important because, like she was holding that rock, which is coming right from the soil, the price that she quoted is the lowest price. So as it moves into the value chain, from raw material to rough material that is mine run, which is sold like that, the way it is, and then it goes to cutting and polishing, tumbling, that is manufacturing, jewel manufacturing. From there now it goes to the market. When it goes to the market, the women in mining are at the mine, in the rural area. It goes to the manufacturers who are doing the value addition in town. From there, it goes to the other women who are in trading, who are taking it now outside the country to go and market. Okay? Which means at those stages, the money is increasing.
As Zambia strives to promote value addition on local materials, Access to easy financial assistance must be made available for interested parties. Mitchell Rubinda for Zanis in Osaka. Also in the news, the United Nations says it will continue to work with government and civil society organizations in the implementation of the Doha Plan of Action aimed at promoting inclusiveness. UN Country Resident Coordinator Beatrice Mutali says the Doha Plan of Action provides an ongoing framework with an objective of achieving equitable and sustainable development. Ms. Mutali notes that the Doha Plan of Action is a blueprint for Zambia to work towards having the country graduate from least developed country status to a middle-income country. The UN resident coordinator adds that her office is there to collaborate with government and civil society entities to ensure all the sectors of economy are transformed. And Zambia Social Forum National Coordinator Geshom Kabaso says the civil society organizations are ready to implement government's efforts through the provision of essential needs. Mr. Kabaso, who is also LDC's country focal point person, explained that civil society organizations are in a hurry to implement the Doha Plan of Action in order to realize development. The Doha Plan of Action provides an ongoing framework towards achieving social, equitable, and sustainable development in LDCs. President Hakainde Hichilema attended the UN Conference for LDCs in Doha, Qatar, where the Doha Plan of Action was proposed early this year.
Really emphasized the important role that civil society plays, and it was very clear in Doha that the UN governments need to work with civil society in moving forward. Again, there were very clear recommendations that came out of Doha that in moving forward, that Doha is not a one-time thing. It was not supposed to be a one-time event. That in coming from Doha, with all the information we received and the roadmap as to the critical points that need to be taken into consideration, that in coming back in country, all the various stakeholders need to get together and begin to look at how do we work together in consultation with each other to really respond to the critical steps that were recommended from Doha. For those of us who are in Doha, remember, government was there, like we said, civil society was there. We also had the private sector that was there. We even had the unions. So in going forward, it's also important that we all find a way of working together. Because ultimately we all work with government. It must be a priority for the government that we'll be looking to do. With areas that you work in, you will always find that yes, for the UN, our primary partner is the government, but there's always a role for civil society.
We'll be very mindful that the civil society organization is also to complement and supplement government efforts in the implementation of Doha of Plan of Action. At the same time, as civil society organization, we are also implementing our activities. We need to ensure that as we are doing our programming, then articles that are related to Doha of Plan of Action, they need to be enshrined and embedded in our activities.
Still in the news, the Organization of African Unity, OAU, transformed in what is now the African Union, AU, in 2002 in Durban, South Africa. Zambia played a significant role in the transition process through the Lusaka Summit, which drew the roadmap for the implementation of the AU. As the AU will be commemorating 60 years since its inception, Mwangala Kapandula takes us back to the time when the Lusaka Summit was held as part of the build-up to the commemoration.
The decision to establish the African Union AU came after the realization that the Organization of African Unity, OAU, needed to refocus attention from the fight for decolonization towards increased cooperation and integration of African states to drive Africa's growth and economic development. Thus, on 9 September 1999, the OAU issued the CETA Declaration calling for the establishment of an African Union AU meant to accelerate integration on the continent and to enable Africa to play its rightful role in the global economy while addressing social, economic, and political challenges. Later, The Lome Summit in Togo in 2000 adopted the AU Consultative Act, while the Lusaka Summit in 2001, which was the 37th, deliberated on the roadmap for implementation of the AU and took place at Mulungushi International Conference Center, where former late President Frederick Chiluba chaired the deliberations. In 2000, the Durban Summit launched the African Union. As the continent will be celebrating its 60 years of the OAU, now the African Union, leaders have been called on to solve their own problems at the recently held AU Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The vision for the AU is an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena. For Zanis News, Mangala Kapandula reporting in Lusaka.
We continue with the news. Chibuluma Copper Mine Company has constructed 42 houses at a cost of 8 million kwacha for families who are earmarked for relocation. The families will be relocated following government's directive to compensate all the residents who are living in the mine danger zone as they are affected by pollution. Agrippa Silumbwe has the details.
As mining operations takes place here at Rufanyama's Chibuluma Copper Mine, its discharge is poured on this tailing dam, which has been in existence for over 20 years now. However, during windy season, all the nearby communities gets polluted by the dust blown from this heap, whose particles are believed to be harmful to human life and causes serious respiratory health conditions. A concern which prompted government to direct the extractive company to compensate and relocate all the affected nearby households. Chibuluma Mine seems to have complied to this directive and has identified a more safer settlement area where it has since constructed 42 houses for all the affected families in Nkana area.
We are doing 42 houses. We've done 35 which are complete, and the households are ready to be moved in. We are only remaining with 7 other houses that are being built. The 35 that are done so far, we've got 15 that are 3-bedroom, 10 2-bedroomed houses, and another 10 1-bedroomed houses, and each house sitting on 40 by 40 piece of land.
The site is ready for handover, and government authorities are here for final inspections.
I've gone around and I've seen what they've done. They've done a good job. Our people will now shift into what will be called their new home, which has been constructed well, and they'll be happy here.
And to the people who shift here, I'm appealing to them never to sell these properties, because they've been given houses free and they've been compensated, so they should not sell these houses. As local authority, we'll be on them, we'll help them to acquire the necessary documents.
Reporting, I'm Agrippa Silumbwe, Copperbelt Province.
Meanwhile, in Northwestern Province, Provincial Minister Robert Lihefu has directed a Chinese company allegedly conducting illegal excavations and construction works of a smelter in Kasempa district to stop the works immediately. The minister, who paid a surprise visit to the site, found construction works in progress with workers operating without protective gear. Take a look at this report.
He is on a fact-finding mission to get first-hand information about a Chinese-owned company allegedly doing excavation and construction works of a smelter without proper documentation from government. Though the supervisor is not found on site, the minister has made some efforts to engage him on phone.
To start work here unless you obtain all the documents from relevant institutions. I'm saying you obtain all relevant documents before you resume work. These workers, they should stop. They should stop working until you obtain all the relevant documents. Yeah. I want those documents. Bring all the documents to provincial administration.
Meanwhile, Provincial Permanent Secretary is concerned that the District Joint Operations Committee, the DJOC, left the works to go on unchecked.
If you don't check what's going on here, then anybody can come from anywhere to come and settle here without you knowing. That's not my job. It's you people who have been entrusted with the security of this nation. So you have got the right to sit and say, no, this cannot proceed. You are the DGOC. Nobody can arrest you. Nobody can fire you. You are a DGOC. That's why you are put there in all districts. So that's why there are these rumors that you have been actually bribed, all of you. That's why we have come to check. And we are sending ACC to come and probe all of you here.
Kasempa Town Council has this to say.
Actually, Honorable Minister, what we know is these people have been stopped from carrying out operations until I'm just trying to explain. Yes. This is why we couldn't actually be attracted to come and check what is happening, because they've been put on hold until the formalities are done and ZEMA is approved and everything. So as far as we are concerned, these people are not working.
Mr. Liefu is also concerned that the workers are working without working suits.
No. You have to respect the laws of this nation. I'm not happy.
For Zanis News, I am Chebunkoma in Kasempa District, Northwestern Province.
In health news, government has launched the construction of a modern medical oxygen production plant at Kitwe Teaching Hospital on the Copperbelt Province. The construction of the plant has been funded by Sweden, UNICEF and Germany, while construction works will be done by the United Nations. Minister of Health Sylvia Masebo says government will ensure availability of medical oxygen services in the country. Mrs. Masebo notes that government will also ensure capacity building for health personnel in administration of oxygen in order to ensure safe delivery of the health service. And Ms. Masebo states that the National Oxygen Strategic Plan, which has also been launched, is a model around which her ministry will address challenges in the profession. And Copperbelt Province Health Director Charles Mwinuna says the plan will help address the oxygen shortages that Kitwe Teaching Hospital faces and also cut on the huge monthly costs spent on buying oxygen. And UNICEF representative Penelope Campbell called for timely completion of the project in order to ensure quick availability of medical oxygen supply.
Today, as you've heard, we will officially launch the first ever National Medical Oxygen Strategic Plan for 2022 to 2026. We will thereafter together break the ground for the construction of the medical oxygen plant for the Kitwe Teaching Hospital. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the global demand for oxygen and made the delivery of oxygen supplies more urgent than ever. The need for oxygen did increase to 1.1 million cylinders in low to middle income countries alone. Here back home in Zambia, we lost a lot of our lovely friends, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, nieces, nephews, grandparents, and indeed colleagues due to lack of adequate and reliable oxygen supply. We further experienced oxygen plant shutdowns during the peak of the first, second, and third COVID-19 waves. This made us realize the need for comprehensive health system strengthening, including building resilient systems able to cope with the demands of emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases.
Kitwe Teaching Hospital offers critical care services in the following areas. We have a six bed capacity intensive care unit, a resus with 8 bed capacity, and 6 high dependence unit with a total bed capacity of 24. The hospital also has 3 theaters constituting 6 operating rooms. These mentioned clinical areas consume 1,200 250 kg cylinders of oxygen per month. And this costs or translates to a cost of almost 432,000 monthly. This translates to 41% of the hospital's grant that is required to buy drugs and other medical supplies of the hospital monthly. Donors, which include Discover Health, CHAI, and others, have come on board to mitigate part of this cost. However, the hospital frequently runs out of oxygen. Guest of honor, we are thankful to the Ministry of Health that we will be launching the National Medical Oxygen Strategic Plan for 2022 to 2026, which will address the challenges many institutions face in the treatment of medical emergencies that require administration of medical oxygen.
Sweden and UNICEF entered into a partnership to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on Zambia's health systems. The program goal was to mitigate the consequences of COVID-19 on health systems by supporting the continuation of essential health services delivery. The World Health Organization has now thankfully declared the end of COVID-19 as a global health emergency. Nevertheless, our program support remains relevant to build back better and has expanded to include strengthening essential newborn care through, amongst other investments, the availability of medical oxygen.
The Oxygen Strategic Plan 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, a symbolic gesture. The Minister of Health handed over the first copy of the new launch strategic plan to His Royal Highness.
An upgrading of Senga Hill Clinic to a first-level hospital has cheered both hospital management and the community in the district. Senga Hill Hospital Administrator Likando Ndandula says upgrading of the facility will enhance service delivery to the people in the district. Namusokwe Wembia brought us this report.
Government has been upgrading clinics to first-level hospitals in a bid to take quality health services closer to the people. One such facility that has been upgraded is Senga Hill District Hospital in Senga Hill District of Northern Province. Hospital Administrative Officer Likando Ndandula sheds more light on the benefits that have come with the upgrading of the facility.
We are a team of 4 theatre personnel that work from here. We only offer first-level services, that is starting from EMOC, that's emergency obstetric care cases. So we do offer blood transfusion from here, cesarean sections we do from here, and minor surgical cases. So this is our main theatre where we are.
And pharmacist technologist Victor Chongo says the district is well stocked with medical supplies.
We are well stocked. We have nothing to actually complain about right now. So we are just from receiving medicine from ZAMSA, and also the medicines and medical supplies that we purchased. So in terms of the stock status, we are just okay. We cannot complain at the moment.
Meanwhile, patients talked to had this to say.
Doctors yamino yati lelo yalukumbala mtondo yalukumpulungu mchemuzi wanda wakuti antwiza yazana limwi kafumia wamino atizile yaka ekufuma manchende apusane pusane.
Reporting for Zanis in Senga Hill District, Namsokwe Bwembia.
Still in health news, Lukulu East Member of Parliament Christopher Kalila has handed over a health post and staff house in Luanchuma Ward, constructed using the Constituency Development Fund. Cosmas Sokasoka covered the handover.
Due to lack of staff houses, I've been staying in the clinic since I came.
She is among the over 11,000 health workers recruited by government last year. Petronella Hamsonde is currently occupying one of the rooms at Murumbu Rural Health Post due to lack of staff houses at the facility. However, the situation is now different as government using the Constituency Development Fund has built the first ever permanent staff house at the health facility.
We are currently on a robust program to increase access to health services, and we are doing this by constructing health posts. We are under pressure also to provide staff housing. Consequent to that is the fact that we are now handing over a health post at Kasombo. From there, we are handing over a staff house again for our health worker.
Since that I've been in a clinic for that long, I'm very excited to move into the house.
The local authority has also built a health post for the people of Kasombo community at a total cost of 460,000 kwacha.
We really appreciate what the government is doing in as far as our communities are in the rural sector.
We used to face a lot of problems. It's very far from Kasombo to our next health post.
Meanwhile, contractors working on various projects in the constituents have been cautioned against shoddy works.
To all our contractors, please don't waste your time applying if you know that you have no capacity to do the work. We do not want to waste government resources, taxpayers' money, and therefore also to our council staff, please, as we evaluate these contractors, do some extensive due diligence on these contractors to ensure that only those that are up to task should be given these contracts.
Cosma Soka, Zanis in Rukuru District, Western Province.
In agriculture news, outgrower farmers in Kanchibia district in Mchinga province have called on residents to take the palm tree outgrower scheme seriously, saying it has potential to improve their livelihoods. Boniface Nkonde, an outgrower farmer, has since thanked the government and Senior Chief Copper for creating an enabling environment in the agriculture sector. Pamela Inambao brings us the details.
Was motivated to start growing palm trees from this palm tree, which was planted in 2018. Boniface Nkonde of Chief Copper's chiefdom in Kanchibia district in Mchinga province is now an outgrower farmer of 207 palm trees. He now shares his story.
These palms grew very well without even using fertilizer. And when I harvest this, it weighs more than 35 kgs.
And his wife also shared how the palm trees, once harvested, can improve their lives.
We need to care for these palms so that we can yield positive results and benefit from them. We are grateful to Chief Copper and government.
Meanwhile, Chief Copper of the Bisa people of Kanchibia district has pledged to continue offering land to farmers who are ready to take farming activities seriously.
The truth is that those with palms are different from those without. Those with palms have the capacity to take their children to school and even construct their own houses. So I'm advising these other farmers to work hard as well.
Mchinga Province Minister Henry Skazwe, who took time to check on the various outgrower farmers' field in Kanchibia district in Mchinga Province, called for more investors.
We'll sit down as government and see how we can come up with. Maybe we'll look for an investor somewhere or ask government to put in money. It's a massive investment here. Something.
Pamela Inamba reporting for Zanis in Kanchibia district, Mchinga province.
In Lusaka province, the second African Media Convention has commenced with over 200 media stakeholders from across Africa. Officiating at the event, Minister of Information and Media Chushi Kasanda has urged the media experts in Africa to come up with tangible resolutions that will help create a favorable environment for the media in Africa. Mailes Kabengo filed in this report.
The second African Media Convention has kicked off at Mulungushi International Conference Center in Lusaka. The conference is aimed at revealing the state of freedom of expression and freedom of the media on the continent and develop strategies for safeguarding these rights. Minister of Information and Media, Chush Kasanda, graced the event.
This meeting, therefore, provides an important platform for media practitioners in Africa and beyond to engage in a robust discourse of how this noble profession can effectively contribute to shaping the future of rights, the future of free expression as drivers of other human rights and sustainable development on the continent of Africa.
Southern African Editors Forum, SAEF chairperson William Ponda, encouraged participants to offer solutions to barriers hampering freedom of expression in Africa.
We decided to come to this country of historical importance on our continent to celebrate the achievements with our colleagues and the continent as a whole, as well as to show other countries that it is possible for governments to create a conducive environment for the media to operate in.
Cooperating partners attending the convention called for protection of women journalists from violence and cybercrime.
The African Union recognizes that women journalists face specific challenges. Male journalists also face challenges, but it does acknowledge that there are specific challenges that are faced by women journalists, and this has resulted in the African Commission on Human and People's Rights adopting Resolution 522 on the protection of women against digital violence.
Media freedom is therefore an essential part of freedom of expression. Unfortunately, media freedom, safety of journalists, and freedom of expression are increasingly under attack, which impacts the realization of other women's rights.
The convention, which is being held from May 11th to 13th, is themed Shaping a Future of Rights, Freedom of Expression as a Driver for All Other Human Rights. Miles Kavingo, for Zanis, in Lusaka.
The Zambia Police Service has clarified that former President Edgar Lungu still has security at his residence. Zambia Police Service Deputy Public Relations Officer Danny Mwale has told the media in Lusaka that it is not true that the state has withdrawn security for the former head of state. Mr. Mwale notes that contrary to information making rounds on social media, facts are that security has not been withdrawn at the residence of the former head of state. He has assured that the office of the former head of state is entitled to security, and this is enshrined in the Constitution. He, however, said that there is a limit in the number of officers who are allocated to provide security to Mr. Lungu, saying what police has done is to withdraw the excess officers that the 60th head of state was assigned.
Just withdrew the excess manpower that the 60th head of state had. So there is nothing strange. The former head of state still has state security. When we talk about state security, we're talking about police officers, Zambia police officers. He still has. Yesterday he had them. Today they are there. Last week they were there. Last month they were there. They've been there. Those officers we have withdrawn. We had called them last year. We had recalled them last year so that we deploy them to other police duties. But because of our own reasons, we had left them there until now. So that message that you saw, it leaked to the public, but it's true. It's our message. People have misunderstood it, but it's our message. We have just withdrawn excess manpower.
And finally, in the news, traditional leaders from the Council of Chiefs in Nalikwanda constituency of Mongu district in Western Province have praised the government for the various successes. Nalikwanda Council of Chiefs chairperson Chief Imamuna of Imalio area says government has made tremendous strides in various sectors, citing the health sector where more workers have been employed in order to cushion the shortages of staff, especially in rural areas like Nalikwanda. And Chief Liambango has appealed to the government to improve security in Nalikwanda constituency by deploying police officers to the area to reduce the high rate of crime. Chief Liambango has further appealed to government to come to their aid in mitigating the notorious contagious bovine pleural pneumonia disease that is wiping out their cattle, as cattle is one of the major sources of income for the locals.
In education, UPND have done a lot. They have brought a lot of teachers in our rural areas. Nalikwanda had no teachers, for it is very, very rural. They have also brought health workers. I have been in North Rhodesia. up to now. But I have not seen a hard-working government like this one. We are also asking for our road from Namushakendi to Nalikwanda. We have got a lot of production there, maize, rice, and so forth.
Lukupa silelezo ya polisi bukebenga kibo butuna ahulu batu babulaiwa ahulu limunanu zaluna zonalikomu zafela kushwa kabutuku wa maswafu mikira kupatuso kwa moso kulutali mefateni
nifisabu itumelwa holo kwa CDF yekelizwe kuzwa fa 1.6 million kuti afa 28 million kwacha isaba na baluna kwali koloze pahami ma secondary mandini ma extraits likolo zaluna zene shanda ukile kacheko zeza aluka lipatira zaluna zene shanda ukile kacheko zeza aluka usaitumela ni kwa social cash transfer yo yekelizwe kuzwa hapa lwene liteni.
As we end the news, a recap of stories that made headlines. Value addition to Africa's natural resources critical. Chibuluma mine constructs 42 houses for victims. Government launches oxygen plant. Plus, Information Minister graces media convention. That's all we had for you. On behalf of the entire production team, this has been Michelle Olubinda. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, it's bye-bye.